What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks to the Cop. The lads are back. As always, I am your host, Steve, as long as my brother, Scans, and our main man out in London, Wahomie. We have a very special guest today. We are here for the preview of the Merseyside Derby coming to us on Saturday. Agreeing to become behind enemy lines, we have Gavin Buckland. You can find him on Twitter at GavinBuckland1. He is the Everton's official statistician. He is a podcaster as well as an author. So we are very, very excited to have him on today for a breakdown on all things Everton. Gavin, thanks so much for joining us, man. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and pleasure for you to ask me as well. Thanks.
No, we definitely appreciate making yourself available. Before we jump into it, Gavin, I really just wanted to ask you about you being an author. For everyone who's tuning in, what's your latest book that you've come out with, and where can people get it?
Yeah, I've done a few Everton-related books mostly, a few quiz books as well over the last sort of 20 years now. Last one, which came out, which has done very well for me, it was called Money Can't Buy Us Love, which is about Everton in the 1960s, really, when Everton were known as the Mersey Millionaires, at a time when Everton were the richest club in the country, and and traditionally the biggest club on Merseyside. I know some people find that hard to believe, but we were. And it's recounting a period which is very much like modern football, where John Moores, who was a local businessman, took over the club as head of the Liverpool organisation, one of the richest men in Britain. He was sort of the Roman Abramovich of his times, So it chronicles that sort of 10, 15-year period from the early 60s, when Liverpool were great as well, to be honest with you, under Bill Shankly. So really interesting story about Merseyside football.
Well, very cool. Any Everton supporters out there, or just football fans in general, make sure you go out and buy that book if you're interested. It sounds like it's a good read. So, but Gavin, let's get right into it. Obviously, it's a big rivalry game for both of us, and it's going to be a huge match based off of the table and the standings. But what do you make of Everton's new signings this year, and how have they been performing for you guys so far?
I think, to be honest with you, in the summer signings, okay. We've had some success. I think Alan's been a good signing, albeit age 29, but for 2 or 3 years he can do a really good job for us. He's probably played for Napoli against Liverpool. You know what he can do. Midfielder, drives forward. Sadly, he's had 2 injury spells, which hopefully might be fit for Saturday, which we may want to talk about. He's done well. Takore, we got from Watford. Probably know well if you follow the Premier League. I played that to be in after for some time, since Marco Silva came to the club before then. And he got him in the summer. Box to box, he's been excellent. James Rodriguez, who's probably more familiar to you guys. World Cup Golden Boot winner. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Once cost £80 million. He's shown it in flashes, but it's his injury record, and I'm not wondering how many times he's actually been fully fit when he's played for us. So he's sort of in the not proven category at the moment. Other signings, Ben Godfrey we got from Norwich, who were relegated last year. He's been excellent. Yeah. He looks a top player, and I'm sure he'll be playing for England at some point. Defender. He's played, I think he made his debut against Liverpool for Everton in the Derby match at Goodison.
How old is he, Gav?
I think he's 22, is he, something like that?
Pretty young.
He's young, yeah. He's played right back, left back, central defence for us, and he's been excellent. A lot of pace, got a little bit of that nasty streak. They don't want to call it that, but he, that competitive streak that all very good players have got. And he's definitely one for the future. But he's one for the now, I suppose. But 3 or 4 years time, I think he'll be an excellent player. And we've got a young lad who's probably not heard of from Marseille, I think, and Cuckoo, who's a left back, who's also a good prospect. But by and large, they've been good signings.
Yeah.
But we needed a lot of work to be done during the summer under Ancelotti. So, but like a lot of signings this year, and just like a lot of teams this year, we'll talk about the sort of artificial nature of football. It's really difficult to judge players, isn't it, really? And teams and managers at the moment.
Yeah, it's yeah. Before I ask the next question, I just want to reference the chat real quick. Julian said, "Hey lads, thrilled to see you back in the show. I'd like to thank Mahomie again for having me in the show last Monday. Let's hope we get the 3 points on Saturday. Never walk alone for sure, man. I watched that episode. You and Mahomie were great. I look forward to having you on again." Gaurav said that I was so sure Scans and his bro were in Texas. This is a relief. I'm stoked we're not in Texas, man. What's going on down there is definitely a concern, but it's still pretty cold and snowing right now in Boston, so we're not out of the thick of it yet. But Chris Welch, always great to see him on the chat, but good to see Steven Scans back. Homie's retro shirt is in the wash, I take it. I don't know, Homie, is it? Is it in the wash?
You're muted, Mahomie.
Mahomie, you're muted.
No, I was working late, so now I'm trying to change, so I just jumped on.
Yeah, it's definitely the cleaners or something. And Magical Mo said, Scan and Steve, we're good, man. Definitely appreciate the shouts of love from you guys. But my question to you, Gav, was obviously Everton, I think, so far has had a pretty good season. I mean, under Ancelotti, you guys look a different squad, a lot more confident. How would you judge the season so far? Currently you guys are in 7th with a game in hand. You're 3 points behind Liverpool. I mean, is this kind of like a dream game right now for Blues fans?
That's a good question. I'm not sure whether any derby at Anfield's a dream game, to be honest with you, but we'll cover that later. As regards the season, it goes back to what I've just been saying. It's been a bit, as we all know, for obvious reasons, a bit of a artificial flavour, hasn't it? No crowds.
Yeah.
A lot more injuries than maybe what you can expect in a normal season. If you'd asked me a month ago, I would have said, I'm really pleased the way things are going, but I think we've only won one of our last 5 league games. We're on a horrible run, like a lot of teams at home, like yourselves, to be fair. I mean, I don't know when one of the Merseyside clubs last won at home, to be fair, in the league. I mean, I think you've lost your last 3 or something like that. We've lost 4 out of our last 5, something, and drawn the other. So, we're okay. I mean, the big worry we've got is a bit misleading the first half of the season. We'll be going away from home to all the big teams in the second half. We've got yourselves, go to Chelsea a couple of weeks. We've still got to go to Spurs, still got to go to Man City, again, the final game of the season when they'll probably get the Premier League trophy, with all due respect. So there's a lot of tough games between now and the end of the season for us. So we're still in the FA Cup. We play City in March. So it's gone okay. But like a lot of clubs, it could have gone a lot better. Losing at home to Fulham, only won twice this season in the Premier League, not great. So, okay, but really big game on Saturday in that context.
So, speaking on Everton's form, going into this game, out of the last 5 games, Everton have lost 3, drawn 1, and won 1. What is the general feeling amongst the Everton fans going into this game? Like, are you confident? Do you feel that form goes out the window? Or are you going into this game thinking this is the best time to beat Liverpool because our form
few derby cliches there. I don't think form ever goes out the window in the derby match. I think in my experience that Liverpool have been a better team over the years and tended to have won. There's been the odd occasion where maybe we've got a victory, but I think the mood, it's mixed, isn't it? Really, I think there's a little bit of unease amongst the fan base at the moment on the basis we just lost twice at home in 4 days. Once against Fulham. City are always going to be a challenge as well now. I think there's an unease over the form of Rodriguez in particular, as just alluded to, about how he fits in with the system. We're not a team that sees a lot of the ball, and he's a player he needs a lot of the ball. There's obviously a few injuries there. Sigurdsson is a player who gets stick from the fan base. So there's I wouldn't say it's every the gardener's rosy at the moment in terms of the fan base, and Anfield has its own challenges. I mean, we've got a terrible record there, full stop. But under Klopp, I think he beat us every game apart from one. The only saving grace, as we well know, on Saturday is the no crowd there. and also the fact that maybe you're not at the best of form in the Premier League as well. So I think a little bit of trepidation, but not necessarily because of Saturday. I think there's a lot of things going on the first team at the moment that make people unhappy.
Gav, just a quick question. On Rodriguez, I saw a rumour that he's homesick and he wants to return to Spain. Is there any truth to that?
I don't know. Is that the one that says he doesn't like the cold, even though he's played in Germany, even though he's played in Germany in the winter? You get these rumours, don't you, when players are unsettled? I doubt it. But what you're seeing when he first came on to you guys, he was really good. Like late summer, early autumn, sunshine, and go to some West Brom, Brighton, not the two best teams with all due respect in the Premier League. Played really well. Has had the odd flash here and there, and everybody's saying he's the best player he's ever played for Everton. It's massive improvement on what we've had on before. But over the last two, and people with them given that the fact that when he hasn't got the ball, he's not the best. He's not going to track back. He's a bit of a weak link. We all know, as at Liverpool, forwards are expected to press, and that's a key part of any game. Over the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, I think the sort of mood music changed a little bit with him, where people are looking at his faults now. But he can't defend. Like on Sunday against Fulham, he didn't appear to be interested, to be fair. He's not seen a lot of the ball. And then you see me play. I don't know if you've seen the goals from last night with City. Bernardo Silva, Mahrez both score James Rodriguez type goals, don't they? And people saying, well, that's what we expected him to bring to Everton. Which, to be fair, he did against Man United the other week. So there is a little bit, for the first time, there's a little bit of criticism of him, and people saying, is he a bit of a luxury player for Everton at the moment? Which is slightly different to what it was at the start of the season when we had all that optimism. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But he does bring quality, doesn't he? At the end of the day, he's a top quality player. It's whether he fits into Everton's system. So yeah, we'll see what the position is. I think he's carrying a bit of a niggle at the moment, what the position is for Saturday. But I'm not sure about them rumours. They come up all the time. There's been rumours about Salah, isn't there?
There's always coming up. Yeah,
and they always do. It's just part of the game now, isn't it? You know what though? I mean, privately, I think. Well, not privately, we'll say public now. I just wonder where they'll be here next season, I just wonder whether he thinks Evans the right move for him at his age, where he's not, we got 20% of the ball last night. I mean, how many times he's played in teams that have had 20% possession, He's a creative player. He needs the ball, doesn't he? He wants to shine, and I'm just wondering whether there's a thing about him that whether there might be something where he might go in the summer. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's not great there at the moment with Rodriguez. I think with the fans and himself, I think he doesn't look happy.
But he's always been hit and miss throughout his career, though.
He has, yeah, he has. I mean, he had one good season at Real Madrid, didn't he? I think his first season, but he's been injured for most of the last 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, Bayern, he was injured often.
Yeah, I mean, he only had a few. I'm not sure how many games he played last year, but many. And he's been injured here. I mean, obviously, he got injured in the derby, did he, by Van Dijk early on. I just thought to put that in, now. But I think,
Let that one blow over.
Yeah. He wants to talk about his injuries in the derby. But yeah, I think he's not. He doesn't look happy. And he got subbed after 70 minutes on Sunday, and he substitute last night. Come on, I don't think he touched the ball. 20 minutes he was on the pitch, so he's not happy. Doesn't look happy at the moment. So it might be interesting, but it's not a shock, as you say, quite rightly. Only that he's not had a lot of minutes over the last 18 months, 2 years.
Keeping the conversation on a few of your players, Gaurav here in the chat had an interesting question that I'd love to kind of get some clarification on. When you comparing these guys to like Trent and Curtis Jones from Liverpool, where do Tom Davies and Anthony Gordon stand in terms of their talent and development going forward?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I suppose the obvious one there is, I mean, Trent is obviously, well, he's been at Liverpool, been playing for what, 3-4 years, is it? Something like that.
Yeah.
First team England international, one of the best right backs around. Offensively, I still think defensively there's issues there, isn't there? So he's way ahead. Tom Davies has got a lot more experience than Curtis Jones, but whether he's got Curtis Jones's ability is another question. Two different types of players as well. Curtis Jones is more of a creative player, isn't he? Tom Jones is Tom Jones. Tom Davies is he's more of a defensive midfielder. He's been, I mean, he made his debut 4.5 years for Everton. 100 Premier League games, I think now. Though he's been okay last month, he stagnated, and I wonder if he's going to get any better than he is now. But Curtis Jones, he's got a lot of development there, hasn't he? He's, it was 20 years or something like that. Obviously scored the goal in the FA Cup game last year. So those two, Curtis Jones got a lot more potential to build. And as in the developmental sort of cycle is behind Tom Davies, but can reach, I think, probably a higher ceiling. Anthony Gordon is behind all three. With Anthony Gordon, you don't know whether he's got it. I think he appears to be quite lightweight for me, and he's played for Everton. There's promise there, but he's gone on loan, and I think, if players have been at a club and had 70, I think 5, 10, 15 appearances and then go on loan, to me that always seems to be that actually you don't think you're good enough. But we'll give you a chance to go on loan and come back and see if you're okay. Because I think if you were good enough, I think you'd still be in the team. Especially this season where we know there's so many people injured, there's so many 9 substitutes and whatever in cup games and things like that on the bench, where there's plenty of opportunities to play. And I think if you're putting people on loan in that scenario, you're probably thinking, I'm not sure whether he's fancied, and I think that's the case with Anthony Gordon. Curtis Jones is a different kettle of fish. He's always been, hasn't he, even in the junior ranks. Curtis Jones, a hugely promising player. And I didn't see the other night, but I believe he played well the other night.
Nice watching him. Blossom.
Yeah, he's got a lot more development there, hasn't he? Development potential to be a leading Premier League midfielder.
Yeah. Another question from the chat from Chris Welch. He said, what do you think are Everton's weaknesses? I think that they are so vulnerable defensively. I mean, I was actually just looking at some statistics earlier, and I think Everton have 33 goals against this season. Liverpool have 32 as well, but obviously we have some big we had some big defensive issues. But would you agree with that?
Yes and no. I'd agree we're vulnerable defensively, but I don't think that's due to the defence. I think that's down to the midfield as much as anything else. I don't think we screen our sense of our defence as well as what we should do. I mean, Gomez has played for us. Andre Gomez come from Barcelona, and he's in the Thiago school of defending. Complete and utter liability. And I don't think we've defended. We protected our sense of defence as much as what we should have done. I know we want to talk about goalkeeping. I think at times the goalkeeping's been at fault, and we have suffered, like yourselves. We've had a lot of niggling injuries. To the fullbacks. Luka Dean's been out for a while. We haven't got an alternative at right back if Coleman's not fit. We put playing Holgate there, who's normally a central defender. Now got Yerry Mina out. So I get that, but it may not just be down to poor defending. I think it's a bit more complicated and a wider issue than that.
Well, hasn't Allen been in and out of the side too?
Well, exactly, that's what I mean. Allen's not naturally a natural defensive midfielder, but he does screen the defence far better than any of the other players. But he's been injured since we played Leicester before Christmas, and he was also injured around the time of the Derby in October. So he's been a bad miss for us in terms of the security that we need. And I'm not sure, is it 3 clean sheets in the Premier League, something like that? It's not many, is it? So I do think that's that's the case. I also think as well, and it'd be interesting to see your thoughts on this. And because I think it probably applies to Liverpool as well, is because there was no pre-season as such. I don't think the players have been as well drilled as what they normally are this season. You know, because they haven't had time to develop defensive systems and bring new players in and sort of work on it pre-season for a month or 6 weeks. We virtually gone from end of one season going into another, didn't we? Really, and I do think that has impacted on all. And I know all defences, and I know like people say, oh yeah, it should be caught up by now, but I'm not so sure about that. And I do think that lack of a pre-season has meant that people aren't as maybe as well drilled and as well prepared as a team, and particularly in defence what we should be throughout this campaign.
The only argument I would have against that is that Liverpool and Everton both started off so well. It's only been since December to January and now that we've kind of seen us underperform.
But at the start of the season, we started off well. We're still conceding goals. We conceded 2 at home to West Brom. I think we won 4-2. It seems a long time ago now. I think we won 5-2. 5-2 and 4-2 against West Brom and Brighton. We won a couple of games away from, we've conceded, we've been winning 2-1, and now, so even when we were top of the league at the start of the season, we were still conceding goals. And even then, I think we were second on Boxing Day. We conceded quite a few goals. And when we've lost, I mean, obviously we conceded a lot more. Since Alan's been off, we conceded 3 at home to Man United in the league, 3 at home to City.
Yeah.
So even we're good at the start of the season, and well, have been, but we have conceded goals. We did have a little bit more firepower up front, and that got us through.
You can go ahead, Wahome.
Oh, so I'm just going to ask, like, my question is basically on Pickford. Like, do you think he's good enough for Everton, like, where you want to go to? And, like, surely, do you think you need a new keeper? Like, he has to go in the summer because, like, too many times he's making errors. Like, I heard, I didn't watch the Man City game, but I heard, like, he didn't come away from that game with much credit again. So, like, I know he's seen as England number 1, but I don't think he's good enough for Everton.
Yeah, that's another good point. I mean, that's been a major talking point with most Everton fans, not just this season, but last season. I think with Pickford I think the first thing is he's England's number 1 goalkeeper. Whether he's the best goalkeeper, English goalkeeper is another question, but he's been England's number 1 goalkeeper now for 4 years since before the World Cup. So that brings with it its own sort of focus and people judging your performances far more in detail than other goalkeepers. So I think he gets judged to high standards, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it's a bit of, at his best, which he was in his first season with us, is he's top class. He was our player of the season. I think his problem is one of concentration. He's got, I know shot stopping. That's the oldest cliche in the book, isn't it? Talking about goalkeepers, he's a great shot stopper, But he's a talented keeper, and he'll bring off some miraculous saves and stuff. But his problem is concentration, which is a key thing with a keeper. If the game's flat or quiet, he'll do something stupid. Where somebody's obviously not got focus. And I think that's one of his major weaknesses. It's noticeable that his 2 best seasons as a keeper were the season when he got relegated under Sunderland, and then his first season with us when we were rubbish, where he was busy all the time, so he had to concentrate. Where it's a bit flat and he has to think about things, that's where he's got a problem. So I think he's still good enough for Everton, but he needs to concentrate on the game a lot more and cut out the silly mistakes. He should have saved the Bernardo Silva thing last night. I mean, you've seen the Newcastle goal the other week, which was at Goodison, which was similar to Henderson disallowed. Was it Henderson in the last minute at Goodison, wasn't it? We let the ball under, square underneath him, but it got rightly called off for being offside, And
you're poking the bear, man. You're poking the bear.
Yeah. He did the same against Newcastle the other week. So in answer to the question, I think the jury's out on him, but he has got the potential and the ability to be Everton's number one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between the end of the season. I don't think he's the biggest problem we've got at the club at the moment. So we'll see. He has to up his game now. Me, definitely.
Well, Julian had a question about what our lineup's going to be. Before we get to that, I'm kind of curious from your perspective, Gavin. How do you expect? How does Everton normally line up with like formations and who in what spot? And then ultimately going into this match, how do you expect them to play against us in terms of tactics? Do you think they're going to sit back because Liverpool has struggled against the low block, or do you think they're going to try and come at us?
Yeah, interesting on this because this season under Ancelotti we started off playing 4-3-3. And then we played 4-4-2, and we played 4-4-1-1, and we played 3-4-3, we played 4-2-3-1, and like a lot of teams, because of being injuries and stuff, and players being in out of form because of the disruptions, it's been very difficult to get a settled pattern of play. So consequently, Ancelotti's produced many different systems. I mean, like yourselves, I don't know how many central defensive partnerships you've had, but a lot. We have as well. We switched our defence around an enormous amount of time. So on Saturday, I think Ancelotti always sees Liverpool's strengths as the two fullbacks. When he was at Napoli, he played 4-4-2 and protect the wings. So I'd expect him to do that again on Saturday. I think we've obviously got a problem with no Mina, so I would expect. I wouldn't be surprised, if we do something similar to last night, where we play Lucas Dean, who's normally a left back at left midfield, so we can double up against Trent.
Yeah.
And on the right hand side, I think he'll probably play Wolby and Coleman to counter Robertson. And then in midfield, he may have Alan back. Assuming if he's got Alan back, I think he might have Alan as a scorer. And then I think he might play Richarlison off Calvert-Lewin, maybe.
Is Calvert-Lewin going to be back?
Well, he's saying that he may be. But that could be. What managers are like, aren't they, before games?
Right.
So he may set up similar to what he did last night, but he had success, didn't he, with Napoli against Liverpool by blocking the two fullbacks off. So I suspect he might do the same, and then just take it from there. But it'll be tough. I think what as well is I think I was looking, your central defence, and would you want two down the middle against your two central defenders? You play one, you've only got one occupying, being say you've got the new lads and Henderson again. Would you want one attacker against them two? Wouldn't you want two, maybe, just to test them out? And I think 4-4-2 seems to me like quite a logical setup, but based on previous setups this season, it could be anything. To be fair,
sure.
But I think if I was picking the Everton team, that's what I'd do. To be fair, he took a Wolby and Tom Davies off last night. I'm just wondering whether that's to keep them for Saturday. Maybe on the basis that Alan might not be fit, he might be playing Davis and Decore in the middle again. So yeah, it'd it'll be interesting, but it's difficult to say really the formation. But that's what I'd do.
Yeah.
I think that will be my approach really to Saturday. And have two boxes of 4.
Well, based off of that thought, Scans and Wahomey, how do you think? Let's say that is the lineup for Everton. How would you expect Liverpool to approach this game in terms of lineup and strategy?
I'm gonna be a wild card, and for me, because of Everton's threat in the air, and the fact that they might play, the probably will play Richarlison and maybe Calvert-Lewin. I think he will play. I would play K-Back and Phillips and put Henderson in midfield, because I don't think Henderson's that great in the air. I think he was caught out in Leicester game for one of the where Vardy should have scored. We had a free header. It's caught out there, and I think I would have those 2 players who are going in the air in K-Back and Phillips playing at centre back, and then Henderson midfield. Because I think it's going to be one of the physical games, and it's not going to be one where you're going to have to deal with pace. It's going to be like lots of balls in the box, and we need the extra height. And plus, if God forbid Alisson and Kelleher are not fit and it's Adrian a goal, they're going to need the extra height. So,
yeah, can we address that rumor? Is that true, or were they just training separately? I mean, everybody's concerned about Kelleher and Alisson. They've mentioned in the chat a few times as well.
I'm not sure, because they weren't pictured in the latest training photos, so that's what people are saying. Alisson may be injured. But I'm not sort of 100% confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. That's what I would do with Homie if I was the manager. But I honestly think that what Klopp's going to do is exactly what he had last game. It's going to be Trent, Kabak, Henderson, Robertson, and then the midfield's going to be Jones, Thiago, and Gini with a normal front three. That's just what it's going to be. We all know that's what's going to happen. We can sing our praises about Phillips coming in, maybe playing against Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison and moving Henderson to midfield, but we know that's not going to happen, unfortunately, because I would love to see Henderson in midfield. It's just that's the truth of it.
Is there no chance of Fabinho playing? I know that it said like the next 48 hours are going to be key, but has he been officially ruled out of the game yet?
We wasn't seen him training today, so I doubt it that he's going to be making it.
Klopp says that you need 2 training days to play. So.
Yeah, and I think Klopp said that he doesn't expect him to be. I think Klopp said he doesn't expect him to be playing, didn't he? I think.
Yeah.
I would not that he will be playing.
Do you guys think that? Do you guys think that Naby Keita could start?
No.
Or even do you think he'll see the bench?
Potentially the bench, but I don't think he's going to be fit enough to start. Doubt it. Everything's too quick.
Yeah, and also just like it would just be so stereotypical if they thrust him into the starting lineup. He plays 60 minutes and gets hurt, and he's out for the rest of the season. Like, that's exactly
that's what would happen.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in training. I'm not going to take my breath. I would just love to see Liverpool take their time, easing them in, let him play 20 minutes and 30 minutes and 40 minutes, and let him work himself back up. I think he is instrumental to our success going forward. And I just think if you trust him into the lineup, he's just going to pull himself like he always does and just get injured again.
You think we're going to see a Richarlison red card again?
I hope not. I like to think he'll be a little bit more compact. But, Gavin, actually, I wanted to ask you about that. Gaurav had a good question here in the chat a little bit ago. Has Richarlison, been taken another step from last year and improved himself this year at all?
No, not really.
He's a Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah, I think he's. I still think he's our best player. If everybody was to play to their full potential, I think he's got it in. And I hate that phrase, elite player, but he has got. I think his mindset is slightly different to all the Everton players. I do think he's got it in him to play elite level Champions League football, hopefully with Everton, but I think maybe with another club at some point. So he hasn't scored the goals he has last season, but he has. I mean, there's been another occasion where he hasn't looked interested. He never looks happy, does he, Richarlison on the pitch? He's just one of them players, isn't he? He just never looks happy. But there's no disputing his ability, and he's a threat. I think he's one of them Everton players. I don't think he's intimidated by the opposition. He scored last night. I mean, he scored against Spurs, and he scored last night, albeit quite luckily. So he's been his performances have probably been better than this number of goals that he scored. If you know what I mean. And I still think he's when fully fit and focused and playing in the right position, he's our best player.
What's the right position for him?
I was, as soon as I said that, I thought, I hope nobody asked me what I think his right position is. Look, I think I still like him wide left. Coming in. A bit like a bit like Salah does, but on the opposite sides of the pitch. I still think he's better wide left coming in. I suspect what you hear is he would rather play centre forward, but he can play across all. I think he plays wide right. He played wide right for the week in one of the games. So I think he can play across the front three. But I like him. I like him wide left, to be honest with you. He's also. I think when he plays wide left as well, he'll come back and help out Richarlison. He doesn't just stay up front and completely not carry out any defensive duties. He'll do his share at the back as well. So wide left for me. Whether he sees that as a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
So, this is a kind of question for everybody. I think this is probably the biggest Merseyside Derby that we've had in a long time in terms of where everyone stands in the table. So, Gavin, let's start with you, but then I'm curious to hear from Scans and Wahomie. How critical is it to get 3 points for both of these teams?
I'll start there. In a strange way, you are right in terms of where both teams are in the league, and the stage of the season that we're at, and what's going on with their own form. It's actually a lot more important derby than what it looks on paper. You see the tables and stuff. It's the context of it. It makes it a really important game. For us, it's vitally important for what I just said earlier on, is we're not on the greatest run of form in the Premier League. We've got some tough games coming up. We've got some easy games as well, but we've got some tough away games coming up. And it's vital. So a good result on Saturday could give confidence to us for the rest of the season. So, not to get beat will be the priority, but if we can scrape a win, that'd be fantastic. From my own perspective, for Liverpool, it's vitally important to you as well, because you need Champions League football. The whole business, the business plan of the club is based on getting in the Champions League every year. And at the moment, I was just thinking about this before. I think it's pretty obvious City will get in there. I'm fully expecting Man United to as well. And that leaves for the 2 places. You're looking at yourselves. Chelsea are on a good run, Andy, under Tuchel, and Leicester. I view those 3 clubs going for those 2 places. And that defeat at Leicester last week was quite a crucial defeat in that context. So, all of a sudden, if you don't get a result on Saturday and Leicester win, I don't know what it is, you are behind Leicester. Is it 4 or 5 points?
We're 6 points behind right now.
6 points behind, yeah. Have you got a game in hand as well, though?
No.
Yeah. No. Well, if you get, dare I say, if you get beat on Saturday and Leicester win at the weekend, it's 9 points then, isn't it? it's a massive gap, and you've already played them twice, so you can't sort of get 3 points back off them by playing them. And Chelsea are coming up on the rails, and they've got a strong squad, haven't they? You know, and
yeah, but I was looking at Chelsea.
So it's a big game.
Chelsea's remaining fixtures are difficult.
Yeah, but I think everybody's are at the moment, aren't they, to a degree, Omi? So I think it's in some respects it's a more important game for you than us.
Yeah.
Definitely.
To be honest with you, because I'm not expecting us to get in the top 4. If we get beat, it's not going to torpedo our Europa League ambitions. But if you got beat and other results go against it the weekend, all of a sudden, it's a big ask, isn't it? But who knows? Who knows? But yeah, the more I think about it, when we're talking about it now, the more the bigger. It is a big game, isn't it? You wouldn't think so looking at it on paper, but it is a massive game for both clubs.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of like the crossroads of the season for Liverpool. The past 2 months, I think I've been saying that, this is the big game for Liverpool. This is the spark that we need. And I just feel like this Everton game, if we win, it'll send us straight up. We'll have the confidence. I don't think Leicester can last with Europa League. I think they just drew tonight, and now they have a game on the weekend as well. So I think that's huge. And I just think that, when you look back at the Spurs game, we won that game. That was the spark that we needed, and then we lost the next game, or I think we drew the next game. Same thing with West Ham. We won that game. That was the spark that we needed, and then we came back and lost. So I think if we again lose, then top 4 is pretty much gone for us, unfortunately, and then we're fighting for Europa League spots. But if we win, that can propel us upward.
What you said there is quite right, isn't it? When you've played the better teams at the top end of the table since Christmas, you've beaten Spurs, you've beaten West Ham. I mean, to be fair, 70 minutes against Leicester, you must the better team, weren't you?
Yeah.
So you have upped your game against the better teams. Man City was a bit of a fluke on it, really. The teams you struggled against have been the poorer teams at Anfield, haven't you, really? Bottom of the table, West Brom.
Yeah, and I think the reason we've underperformed there is because we lost some confidence. Obviously, we had a bad run with injuries, but Mo Salah's back in form. If Sadio Mane can capitalize on his goal from 2 days ago, then I think he gets back in form pretty quickly, and then we're all of a sudden we're back into the swing of things. So I think playing that Champions League game could have been that spark, but it has to continue with this match against Everton. It has to.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So it is a big game for you, isn't it? It's a massive game in your Premier League season, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Good point there.
Yeah, I think for us as well, I know compared to Leicester and Chelsea, on paper, our games are easier because they've still got. We've only got Wolves away, and then United away as a hard games left remaining. Are the ones who got Villa at home, Chelsea at home, and then that's it really.
I think Arsenal.
In terms of Arsenal away, but I think Arsenal aren't top 4 contenders. So,
we play United again.
You play United away. We have them in March. In March or something.
Okay.
Playing away. Those are the only ones. But Chelsea have got most of the top teams away still to play. Leicester have got. Again, they still got Tottenham, Chelsea, City, and United all to play still in the second half of the season. So I think for us, if we can beat Everton on Saturday, it'll kickstart a run of games because run of games are where we can just get some confidence going. So is that crucial? Because like I said, if Everton, we don't win against Everton, then it's just the Champions League where we can be a different animal in the Champions League, have to focus on that. But we need to build on that win against Leipzig, which is a very good win. We're winning against Everton, and go over our home hoodoo, which seems to be I don't know why we're struggling so much at home. But go over that and follow that with a win, And
Yeah.
even if it doesn't matter, even if it's just a 1-0 win or 2-1 or scrape, I don't care. Just get the 3 points. And then you can just say, yeah, we've got that Merseyside Derby lift, and that can push you to then beat Sheffield United and then go on a run.
Agreed.
So going off of that, you guys, I mean, from a Liverpool perspective, Skins and Wahomey, we talked about your potential lineups, but what does Liverpool have to do to get to 3 points in terms of how we play? Like, what do you want to see if whether it's a so-and-so player plays well or how we play, what's going to get us to 3 points?
I think it's the same what we saw against Leipzig. I want the same intensity, the same game management intensity. We were all over Leipzig, in terms of how sharp we were at our pressing, our movement. I want the same intensity. I don't want a drop-off where we start slow or there isn't that same intensity. Because one thing you notice in certain games is, even against City, there was no pressing. We lost against City. We were not pressing City whatsoever and just allowing them so easily. That's not Liverpool. I think in certain games where we've dropped points, even the Brighton game, we weren't pressing. We're just walking around, allowing teams to pass the ball around, and there's no intensity, no pressing. So we need the same again this weekend. The same intensity, hunger to show Everton we are here, and be in their faces and pressing them. This is going to be a physical game, no doubt about it. The way Everton are going to play, they're going to pump balls in the box and try to take advantage. Yeah, make it scrappy and try to take advantage of it. It's going to be a physical game, so we have to be in Everton's faces from the minute go. I think probably a cliche here. I think the battle's going to be midfield. Because if we can win midfield battle and get Thiago and Jones and Ginny dominate in the midfield, then it goes a long way to winning the game, like it did against Leipzig. Because they all had a good game. But if we don't, and Everton dominate that part, and they then also block our fullbacks, then it's going to be a long day. So we have to also take our chances. We've got to be clinical. So we need Mo and Salah and Bobby to bring their shooting boots again on this weekend and take our chances and be clinical. Because even against Leipzig, we were wasteful with certain chances. We need the same again, like to be clinical.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, Wahomey, man. I mean, the press was absolutely massive against Leipzig. We didn't give them a second to breathe, and they didn't know what to do with it. That's why, people say that we won off those errors, but we caused those errors by constantly pressuring their backs and constantly pressuring their midfields. They didn't have a second to breathe. So that's number one. That's the one key for me. But the second key as well is aggression, and I think you kind of hit on that as well. I mean, we need to just be ready to go. We need to be ready to go to battle. This is an absolute war against Everton. We saw what they did last time, and no offense to Gav, but Richarlison's tackle was horrible. Pickford's tackle was horrible. You're right. They're going to be physical tomorrow. And if someone like James Milner was available for this game, I would have seriously considered playing him in the midfield, strictly because we know what he likes to do in that midfield. In the first minute, he likes to take somebody out. That's what we need. We need somebody to set the tone early, and it has to happen right away. And that's why we're missing someone like Fabinho. I want it to be like the Man United game from last year, where you saw guys decking Daniel James. He was going to the floor, and they were clean tackles, but he was going to the floor hard. So, I mean, that's what's going to happen. If we know Everton's going to bring that, we need to see that from Liverpool as well.
All right. Well, this is another just question for everybody. I mean, Wahomey you covered it. Midfield's going to be an important matchup. But Gavin, from your perspective, where are the key battles in this game? Other than you already talked about the potentially two strikers and our center back. But
Yeah.
What are the key battles where this game is going to be won and lost?
Before I say that, I am contractually obliged to talk about Andy Robertson's tackle in October, by the way, where he kicked out Richarlison, was very, very lucky to stay on the pitch. I get your point about the Pickford one was shocking, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it was, wasn't it? I'm not sure under the laws of the game he could be sent off, but it was shocking, and I've said that before. I think, to be honest with you, I think you touched on it there. I think when I'm playing against Liverpool, it's always how you counter your front three. Let's face it, far better defences than ours that have suffered over the last couple of years against the front three. And I think it's playing it right against them, and it'd be interesting to see. Ideally, you'd want Allen back, I think, on Saturday. But then again, how fit is he going to be? So I think you've got to stop your front three. I think that they're tremendous, aren't they? You're going to see their goals tally. I mean, Salah for considering Liverpool have not had that great season in the Premier League as such compared to the last 3 years. What is he, Salah? Is he got more goals now than the whole of last season already, hasn't he? Yeah. So he to me as well, I think, has he lost weight, Salah? That was the first thing when I saw him at the start of the season. To me, he looks
he cut his hair at the start of the season.
Is that right? Yeah, okay. Maybe I should do that as a trick then, to give that impression I could do with that. He looks fitter to me, Salah, this year.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, maybe it is the hair as well. Maybe that's it. So I think the front three. I'd be interested to see, and I think it's from your guys' perspective is interesting. You're talking about the midfield there. Would you want Henderson in the midfield on Saturday?
I would, but I don't think Klopp will.
He's not going to do it. There's no way.
Yeah.
No, I would. Yeah, Klopp, I would have Hendo in the midfield, but Klopp will go with Hendo at centre back with K back.
Yeah, I as an Everton fan, I would rather see Henderson in the back four than play midfield on Saturday, because I think he's really important to you in terms of we're talking about pressing and stuff, and I think he's vitally important, and just that leadership in the centre of the park and that control he gives. So
I think that's why Klopp utilizes him as a centre back, especially in these times, is because he is that leader. He's the most vocal on the team.
I get
that's
that.
What we need back there without Van Dijk.
Yeah, I get that as well. But do you think he can be the focal point in the midfield as well? And I think when you're talking at home about battles and stuff, and he's battle hardened, isn't he, Henderson? He's usually experienced. So I think it'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting decision to take with ramifications for both your defence and centre midfield on Saturday. But yeah, got to stop your front three. They're always, I mean, I don't know if have you seen did you ever watch the Man City documentary that was on Amazon? Have you seen where Guardiola was talking about your front three? And he was absolutely petrified of them.
Petrified.
And I think that's it. Your front three are fired, and Mane and Salah both scored on Wednesday. They can, on Tuesday. He can be a huge threat. So got to stop them.
All right, but Gavin, before we get into our official match predictions, one thing we like to do just for a little fun is we have to do a little combined 11. So what we typically like to do is we're going to start with the goalie. We'll do the back four, and then we're going to use a 4-3-3 formation. And we'll kind of just line by line with who we think would start if we did a combined 11. So
it's based off current form too for this season. Yeah,
just based off of this season's form, not potential, not ability, just how they're doing this year.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So to start, we always start with the goalkeeper. So I think we can all probably agree here that Alisson would be the starting goalkeeper in the start in the 11.
I don't know.
Pickford's arms are too short.
Alisson's had some blunders recently, but he did keep a clean sheet in the Champions League, which I don't think Pickford has ever done. So
I think you're right there, but he's. I wouldn't say that Alisson's fired on all cylinders at the moment. It's interesting to see what was going on today. So I agree, but it's not as nailed on as say as what it was last year.
Correct.
I think Alisson suffered because of goalkeepers like Guts, no Van Dijk, and there's no the relationship with the two centre halves, and if they're not playing behind the usual centre halves, that can impact on keepers, and stuff. But he saw that at Leicester, didn't he, really? So Alisson definitely, but not as big a gap as what there was this time last year.
And what about right back?
It's Trent, isn't it?
Trent, Seamus Coleman. Would you
You've
put
got
there?
Well, you could do, but you combined 11. You've got to pick Trent there, haven't you? You wouldn't. I'd say that with Trent, he's another one who I wouldn't say he's been found out a bit, but defensively, he has to really massive. I think he's got to improve his game, hasn't he? I think he's obviously great going forward, but he's another one who's sort of plateaued, hasn't he? Really, this year. Be interested to see how he develops over the next few years.
I don't think he's been good.
Yeah. So, but you've got to. I mean, if we'd had a good right back, you'd have a discussion there. But you've got a bit Trent, haven't you?
All right. So, what do you guys think about center back partnership?
It's just we're not having Van Dijk in this conversation.
Yes, no Van Dijk, no Gomez, no Matthew.
It's based on form as well. Based on this season's form, not.
Yeah, I think you'd have to put Michael Keane in as being exceptional for us this season. For a start, well, I mean, you have got any centre halves, have you? Really, to be honest with you.
I would put Fabinho in there with Keane.
I'd go with that. Yeah,
Fabinho has been fantastic, and I know he's picked up an injury, but in the last couple of games he hasn't been nearly as good. But he carried us for much of the season back there, so I think he deserves a spot for sure.
I think he's one of them players for Fabinho. You could probably pick four different positions on the pitch, and he'd probably be one of your first choices for them.
Yeah,
you can imagine he'd probably play right back, wouldn't he? As well, he'd be really good at right back. He's just one of them players. Yeah. So Fabinho and Keane is the dream centre half. Yeah. Somebody just said about Yerry Mina. Yeah. No, I think. Yeah. He's got a mistake in Mina, but he's been much improved this year. But I think to keep a balance of Everton, Liverpool, we've got to go with Fabinho and Keane.
Left
back. I think left back's interesting because Robertson's been part one of our best players this year, but I think hasn't Lucas Digne have a pretty good year as well?
Yeah, well, if you always end up trading off on these type of things, don't you? So if I give you Fabinho, you give me Lucas Digne at left back. Okay. I think Robertson's been better than Trent, hasn't he? I think, to be honest with you, maybe a bit more solid defensively, but Lucas Digne's top class left back. Probably before his injury, maybe the best in the Premier League, I would argue. And I know you can throw out like assists and all this, but in terms of balancing sort of defensive duties and going forward, I think he's still got the most assists, hasn't he? I think of a fullback. Solid defensively. He's been playing wide left as well. Not necessarily playing fullback for us. He's played centre half a couple of games this season in the Carabao Cup, albeit not against the best opposition. I think that's a 50-50 one, that isn't it? The Alexander Digne conversation. Because they both had good seasons, but I just think Digne to me is a little bit more defensively, a little bit more robust than Robertson, so he get my vote, but quite.
I'm happy to give you another game.
I think that's a wise move. I think he's top class.
I'm going to get outvoted, but I would clearly pick Robertson. I think Robertson's the better defender, but that's neither here nor there.
I think the opposite actually.
I know you do.
Yeah. I think we could play them one half each, couldn't we? I suppose, shout out for Ben Godfrey there as well. By the way, he's been excellent.
Yeah, he's been great.
I don't think he's been tested enough. He's only been playing since October. He's not played left back, and he's very much a work in progress. But yeah. Should we park the Lucas Digne and Robertson? See what else we pick and see if
I think I was outvoted, but I was just giving my personal opinion. But
you know what? When we were picking we said about picking the combined 11. I thought the one area where there's going to be a real conflict of and the discussion will be the Luke Dean, Andy Robertson one. I think they're the two players on either side of Stanley Park that mirror each other in terms of ability and their effect on the team. And that you could argue both, really, to be fair.
I agree.
Which team, I suppose.
Yeah,
but both very, very good left back.
So I think the midfield three is going to be interesting because I think if you're going off of talent, like you definitely include Thiago, but I don't think you can include him just because of how many games he's played, and I don't think he's really shown his capabilities yet.
Well, Chris Welch isn't going to allow us to pick Thiago.
No.
Based on form,
based on, Sorry, no. Before is Thiago a midfielder that's suited to Liverpool style of play?
Oof, you're opening up a can of worms.
I would say he is, because the reason why I say it is defensively, he's been our best midfielder. Defensively, his stats defensively are actually very good, and I think Thiago was brought to play with Fabinho and Henderson midfield and push further forward, but he's not been able to have them two next to him, and so he's had to play a lot more defensive than he would have done. Like his positioning from last compared to how he was at Bayern, he's having to do a lot more defending he was going to have to do, and that's not his game. So, but then against Leipzig, he was outstanding. His statistics against Leipzig were outstanding.
Yeah,
he was arguably, he ran the game against Leipzig. So I think people are writing him off, saying that he's too slow or he slows our game down, all this nonsense. But you have to understand as well, he was playing a poor Liverpool side that was low in confidence. So he wasn't the only one that was just trash. There were so many other players that were poor, but that also dragged him down.
And he was injured for 3 months and had COVID.
Yeah, he's not Steven Gerrard, where he's going to carry Liverpool and get you goals in that sense. He's going to be like a player that can control and dictate the tempo of the game, but he needs the rest of the team also playing well. So he is a Liverpool player, but you're not going to see the 100% best of Thiago until next season, until he has Fabinho and Henderson next to him.
Well said.
So that means what's the midfield three?
I would have Ginny in there. I think he's been outstanding this year.
Yeah.
As one of them.
Yep. So
I'd say it's an interesting one, this, because you've got to get the right balance, haven't you? You know what I mean? Obviously, for us, Decore and Alan have both been very good. And then would you have Henderson in? Oh,
I probably would, but that's just because I think he's been fantastic this season, both in the midfield and as a center back. So I feel like he deserves a spot on the pitch.
Yeah, I think if you had Henderson in, I would think you'd probably, the one who shoots it then you probably need Decore in, a little bit more of a box to box midfielder. So I think Decore, Henderson, Ronaldo got quite a nice balance to it.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, that's not bad three. With the shout out for Alan, but if you're only picking three, I think you'd have to have Ronaldo and Henderson in, and then you'd have Decore ahead of Alan.
Yeah, I think Alan's been good for you guys, but I feel like Genie in the 6 is kind of that role, or Henderson in the 6 is above Alan.
Yeah. I think Genie will give you and the funny thing about Genie is like his goal scoring record for Holland is tremendous, isn't it? But I'm just wondering where the goals are coming from them today. They
aren't.
I mean, you have similar problems to us. It's not but Decore's got a couple. I mean, Alan just doesn't score. Tom Davies doesn't score, and your midfield, finds it difficult to get on the score sheet as well. So, yeah, you'd be looking at them three and thinking, where's the goals going to come from?
Yeah.
Which leads us to the strikers, I suppose, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So striker, I think Salah has to be in there, and I think Calvert-Lewin has to be one.
Yeah.
I think the only debate is we do Richarlison / Rodriguez or Mane. I think that's really the only debate for that last spot.
I don't think form-wise, Mane's been good enough to be in the team.
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris West in the chat. I think you have to give it to Richarlison, unfortunately, because I'm not a fan of him. But
yeah, well, we'll go. I'll have Richarlison in. It's funny, because I love Mane. I think of the three, I always think he's the most sort of complete player, and I always think but it's funny what you're saying, that he hasn't been, up to his usual standard. I think the other thing to say about your front three is, and this is a problem that you're going to face, isn't it, over the next 12, 18 months, is they're all 30, aren't they, next season?
Yeah.
They're all born within 6 months of each other, aren't they? So I think by this time next year, I think 2 of them will be 30, and I think the youngest might be Firmino, is 30 in the May or June.
Firmino's the oldest.
So yeah, so you've got a problem, haven't you, as a club, that those three being together about 3 years, something like that.
Why haven't you heard we're getting Mbappe next year? So.
Well, yeah, I'll try and square that with buying a central defender from Preston for $1.5 million, but yeah, it's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because
don't forget we have Jota as well. Jota's coming back soon.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. Will one of them be sold in the summer? To raise some money.
You're asking the right questions.
Yeah, that's. Because just a general thing, I was talking about this to friends of mine the other day. Is if you have a look at your team, your best starting 11, how many of those, of the 10 outfielders, how many of those players have got are at their peak or have got their best years ahead of them? Fabinho and the 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
A lot of players are in their late 20s. Henderson's 30, is he 31? Wijnaldum's 30. Obviously spoke about the 3 strikers. Van Dijk is his late 20s, isn't he? You've got 2 injury-prone centre-halves. So there's a lot of work to be done with Liverpool in terms of reconstructing the team over the next couple of years based on their age, And it'd be interesting to see how much money the owners are prepared to provide to the club, to keep them competitive, especially as City have rebuilt over the last 6 months. So
yeah, that's why I'm thankful that Klopp's staying till 2024. But speaking of Klopp, let's get to the managers. Who do you choose for the managers, Klopp or Ancelotti?
For this season, that's a good question.
Actually, it's both questions.
Yeah. It's a very good question. You've got to have Klopp's a top manager, isn't he? I know he's had a bit. Let's face it, as we all know now, he's had a few, very sad things to deal with, which undoubtedly will have affected him in terms of his ability to manage the team and handling certain situations. But you'd have to have Klopp, wouldn't you? I think for the season. Though Carlo's done well as well, but I think some of Carlo's sort of decisions in the last couple of weeks have been a bit strange in terms of substitutions and selection. It's Klopp, but not by a big margin.
Yeah, I think it's close. I think it's a stalemate.
Yeah.
I think they're both kind of right there.
Yeah. No, I can see why you're saying that. I think because Klopp's got a job to do now, hasn't he? There's a big job there at Liverpool, I think, over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Rebuilding. It'd be interesting to see how that's handled. Because, as I say, they've got 4 or 5 players who probably their peak years have gone. So that'll be interesting. I said we've not left Milner out there as being vital, haven't you, for the last couple of years, Milner? 30, 35, isn't he? Something like that. So yeah, it'd be interesting. So we'd have Klopp. Or maybe Klopp as manager and Ancelotti as coach, or some, the system manager.
You guys agree with that, Klopp?
Yeah.
I'd say Klopp. Just, but I was not by a big margin, very small margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Should we get to predictions?
Yeah, let's wrap with our official match prediction. So we'll kind of just go clockwise around here. I'll kick us off. I think this is going to be another entertaining game. I think it's going to be another hard-fought game. I think we can all decide. I think we can all determine that's going to be the case. But I'm going to go with 2-1 Liverpool and an absolute nail-biter. I think it's going to be a late goal that sees us through. I think the goals, who they're going to come by. I think if Calvert-Lewin plays, he's going to get one. Just because his aerial prowess is amazing. And then for Liverpool, I don't know. Sadio Mane and I guess I have to go Salah. The two big guys for us. 2-1 Liverpool.
Chris, let's show some optimism here. I don't want to see a 0-0 game between the Merseyside Derby. Well, homie, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a draw, fortunately. I think Ancelotti's going to come and nullify us. I think they're going to target. We're going to be targeted for set pieces and long balls, and we've not been tested by two strikers up top yet. Kate Henderson, like Gavin said, it's easy playing against one up top, but two big guys as well who are dirty players in a way. Like they love the physical side of it, And I'm glad Mina's not playing because he's also a threat in the air, monster in the air. And also, if God forbid Alisson and Adrian aren't fit, and it's Adrian, that's a handicap already straight away. That's you at least a goal down straight away, and he's going to be. I don't trust him, so I'd love a win, but I'm probably going for a 1-1 draw.
Gav, what do you think?
Am I allowed to go with the one with the homie score there as well? Because I was going to go 1-1.
Do whatever you want.
Because I do a few podcasts, when in doubt, I always say 1-1. It's like the sort of, it's like the Bottlinger scoreline, I think, for podcasts at 1-1. Like you don't really know, but so I'll go at 1-1, and I think it'll be entertaining. I think we've got to remember football at the moment. It's a bit artificial, isn't it? We've seen a load of crazy score lines, and you're still thinking that's not really right in terms of what you see. So you probably see a really entertaining game. But I think I'll go with 1-1. I think as well, if that's all right. Because I've got a clue what's going to happen. To be fair,
all right.
Anything can happen in these games. That's what's nice.
Yeah, 1-1.
My prediction is going to be a hard-fought game. I don't think Calvert-Lewin's going to start. I think he's going to come in 65th minute, 70th minute, something like that. Gary Mina's not playing, so you got to think that Holgate might be in the center back role. Godfrey might be playing center back. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but they're not going to be as defensively sound without Mina in there and his aerial prowess. Going 3-1 Liverpool. Mo Salah hat trick. Book it. Book it. Hat trick.
Hot take.
That is a scorching hot take.
Hot take, yeah, I love that.
I absolutely love that. So I think we can all agree it's going to be an awesome game to watch on Saturday. Let's hope, for Liverpool fans' sake, we come away with 3 points. Sorry there, Gavin. But, Gavin, thanks so much for joining us, man. This was a bunch of fun, and we really appreciate the insight.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on. It's been a really good, constructive conversation. Been brilliant. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on next year. We play again.
Absolutely. Though, if we get beat 3-1 with the Salah hat-trick on Saturday, I may not want to come on next year, to be honest with you. But,
well, fair enough.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
We'll
but
see.
Everyone in the chat, we really appreciate you guys. You guys were on fire as always. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. But otherwise, we'll see you all tomorrow for our Friday's final word. And if you're still here, up the Reds. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.
See you guys.
Up the Reds.
Okay.